Hi, everybody. Today I want to talk about 5 myths that sellers believe about pricing. This is Steve Enchin with eXp Realty of California, and I think you're going to find this video hopefully a little bit interesting, especially if you're a home seller and you might have heard these before. The first myth is the higher a home is priced, the better chance a seller has of getting close to their asking price. And this is one of the most common myths, and it's a easy one to latch onto and believe, but actually the opposite is true. And it's one of the hardest myths to overcome. So overpricing results in a loss of valuable marketing that we can't get back. When we overprice the home, we're losing an opportunity to capture potential buyers' interest quickly when they see the listing and the listing is fresh, right? Because we don't want the listing to go on in an overpriced condition, and we have additional days on market that we have to overcome. All right. Number two, if you give a buyer the closing date that they want, you'll get your price. That's not necessarily true. Choosing an agreeable closing date is a difficult negotiation. And agreeing on the buyer's preferred closing date doesn't guarantee a seller is going to get their price, although it might make the transaction go a little bit faster, a little bit easier. As our real estate market begins changing and control moves from sellers to a more balanced market and possibly eventually to a buyer's market, this will be something that we'll have to negotiate on as sellers rather than forcing buyers to negotiate on the closing date that we are demanding. Here's another one: including extras with the sale helps to negotiate a higher price. So, extras usually means furnishings, stuff. Um, Basically, we don't want to burden the buyer with things that they don't really want and then they'll have to deal with after closing. So, if there's stuff in the home that's personal property, you don't want to include it with a sale unless it's something that the buyers have requested. So maybe there's a piece of furniture or something that a buyer says I really want it, or they want the refrigerator or something like that. If they ask for it, then you can negotiate to include it if they agree to maybe the higher counter offer that you were attempting with them. All right, but don't dump furniture and other stuff on the buyer that they probably don't want, and that's really not going to help our negotiation. Another one is selling as is. It doesn't necessarily mean a buyer is not going to try to lower the price after inspections. Just because we say as is legally means nothing. It doesn't protect you as a seller. It doesn't protect you in terms of the asking or agreed upon price. Um, as soon as the buyer does their inspection, they can come back and say that there are too many problems with the property. They want to negotiate a lower price, or they may want to cancel the transaction. So when you say as is, legally it means nothing. It's not a contract term. All right. And then the last one, number 5, let's split the difference. So no one ever said real estate was fair. No one ever said negotiations in general are fair. So you as a seller may agree to come down 20,000 in a negotiation and the buyer only comes up 10,000 and won't budge. So should the buyer come up more? Perhaps, but there's a question. What is a property worth in the eyes of that buyer? What is the property worth in the eyes of the seller? So this is where there's a disconnect when you can't really get to an agreement. So the reality of selling a home is the market rarely, and this is important, the market rarely values it as highly as the seller. So a buyer only really has like a surface level view, and the things a seller thinks a buyer would find valuable may not matter at all to the buyer. So even if a home appears to be well priced, it's rare that any agent's going to disclose in their showing feedback what their intentions are in case that their customer wants to make an offer. So, but I'm going to repeat this one more time because it's really super important. The market rarely values a property as high as the seller does. So when we're doing our pricing exercise together. If we're sitting down and we're going through my listing presentation and the way I do pricing, which is significantly different than most real estate agents, we want to sort of keep that in mind. We're using information, we're using data, we're using economic data, we're using information on the other properties currently available for sale. So we want to sort of keep that in mind, that pricing is super important. Just because we think the house is worth more because it has some feature, something that's really unique, it doesn't necessarily mean that potential buyers will agree with us. So these are the 5 pricing myths. I hope you found this video useful or interesting. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below, send me a message. My contact information is below. But thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.